everyone, here's this week's helper video for your Go Formative questions. Here's number 1. Which of the following show a correct comparison? Select the 3 correct answers. A. 3 and 372 thousandths is less than 3 and 381 thousandths. The way that you would figure this out is by starting by comparing the digits that have the greatest place value and moving to the right from there. So I just lined up the numbers on top of each other. I look at the 3 in the ones place, and it's the same. The tenths place is the same. The hundredths place, there's a difference. The 7 is less than the 8. So I know that 3 and 372 thousandths is less than 3 and 381 thousandths. So I would circle A for a correct answer. Continue in the same way, comparing all of the numbers to find the 2 other correct answers. Number 2. Lena brought $10 to the fair. She spent $2.59 for cotton candy. She spent $3.49 for a toy. How much money did Lena have left? This week in the Really Good Stuff document, you reviewed how to add decimals, and you watched the music video to remind you to line up the decimals. So don't forget to line up your decimal points when answering this problem. To answer it, there's a few steps. First, I would find out how much money Lena spent altogether by adding the $2.59 and $3.49. After that, I would subtract that amount from the $10 and notice how my decimal points are all lined up, and in my solution, I would just bring the decimal point straight down. Number 3. Phil spent 2/5 of an hour riding his bicycle and 1/3 of an hour practicing the piano. What is the total time in hours Phil spent riding his bicycle and practicing piano? Because it says what is the total time, I know I have to add these 2 fractions. This week on the Really Good Stuff document, you reviewed how to add and subtract fractions. Step 1 is to write the fractions. If there's an unlike denominator, you have to find the lowest common denominator. So you can just list the multiples of the number and find the number that's in common. Step 3, you have to rewrite. Remember, whatever you do to the denominator, you also have to do to the numerator. And step 4, you solve by adding the numerators and keeping the denominator the same. I started the problem here for you, so if you're stuck, you can pause the video and have a look. Next one. The length of Eagle Trail is 6 3/5 miles. The length of Bear Trail is 2 7/10 miles. What is the difference in length between Eagle Trail and Bear Trail? Because it says what is the difference in length, I know I'm going to subtract. So I lined them up first. I wrote out my numbers, 6 3/5 minus 2 7/10. I noticed that the denominator is different, so I went on to find a common denominator. The common denominator between 5 and 10 is 10. I brought my numbers over here. The 2 7/10 stays the same. The 6 3/5 I changed to 6 6/10. So this is where you should see a big problem. 6 and 2 you can subtract, but you cannot do 6 minus 7. So on the Really Good Stuff document, you reviewed how to go from there. Remember, if the number is too big, you can zap it, shrink it, and give it a form of 1. Here they zapped the 3 to make it a 2, and they gave the 2 6 a form of 1. The form of 1 they gave it was 6 6. 2 6 plus 6 6 equals 8 6. So up here, in your problem, you would zap the 6 and shrink it to a 5 and give the 6/10 a form of 1. The form of 1 that you would use is 10/10. So you would have to do 6/10 plus 10/10. Last one. Jean needs 2 1/2 cups of flour to make sugar cookies and 3 1/4 cups of flour to make peanut butter cookies. What is the total number of cups of flour that Jean will need to make both kinds of cookies? Because it says what is the total number of cups, I know it's an addition problem. So I set it up like this, 2 1/2 plus 3 1/4. I see the denominators are different, so we have to have a common denominator. So next I would just list the multiples of 2 and the multiples of 4 to find the least common multiple. Bring your numbers over and change the denominator to the common denominator, and then add.